All right, we are live for an impromptu episode of The Deep End. I mean, we plan to do this one this week as we do every single week, but we were about to just record an episode, and Ari was like, "Should we just go live like right now? No announcement, no nothing." And it's 7:40 p.m. We are in the same time zone for the first time, well, second time, I think. Uh, well, we did this kind of recently, but anyway, long story short, we are live here in real time for episode number 40 of The Deep End. And there's a lot to get into. But first and foremost, Ari, man, how the heck are you?
Well, certainly a lot to get into. First and foremost, let me pass it back. Let me just say, episode and entire podcast powered up by Blossom, which we're going to get into in a hot second. But investors, we have a new, what I'd like to call dividend dad, who is now joining us every episode moving forward. Ryan is now a father. How's it feel? Give us all the details here.
Man, I don't know. I honestly don't know if I can put it into words. So yeah, we officially had our baby, guys. She was born October 3rd. So it's been almost a week, actually. It feels like we've talked more recently than that, but yeah, it's been about a week. She was born last Friday. Yeah, right? Last Friday.
And by
Um,
you mean Dividendella, yeah?
yeah, exactly. Her name's Elle. And man, it's fatherhood so far has been great. I don't know. It's been wonderful. I don't even think great and wonderful are, I don't even know if those words do it justice, but it's definitely been a life-changing experience, which is no surprise there, but it's been nothing but good. I'm sure you guys watching the video right now, you see I do have a little Harry Potter scab on my forehead, and that's from her, just from napping. She's so wiggly. She's so wiggly squiggly, and she's got these, sharp baby nails. And we were just napping one day. I think this was a couple of days ago, and yeah, I definitely got hit.
And that
My
sums
forehead
up
was collateral
fatherhood.
damage. Yeah. So far, been a lot of diaper changing, which is new for me, but it's actually pretty easy. Just been a lot of sitting around, cuddling and burping, and it's been great. It's been really good. My wife's doing great with it too. She's fantastic. I actually think she's maybe feeding her right now, or just was. But yeah, it's been an adjustment, but it's been nothing but good. And we have our entire um, both sides of the family are in town. It's actually pretty crazy. So for like the last, whew, definitely for the last week, um, it's just everyone's over at the house pretty much all day, every day, taking turns holding her and just hanging around. And man, it's awesome. It's been quite it's been quite the week. It's been good, man. No, all
You
good.
just got like the payload worth of an ROI, man. Like no amount of dividends can equate to what you just brought into the world, both you and your wife. So when I got the text message, I just was ecstatic. I was like, wow, like I don't. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy, and I'm happy for you both, and well, all three of you now. Really is time to get the dividend Prius in motion.
Yeah, seriously, man.
I can't
Thank
wait.
thank you so much. And I will have you know, I'm not just saying this. I wouldn't sugarcoat it because you're my friend. I wouldn't do that. You are one of the first friends that I told. Like you were one of the first people outside of my family to get the picture. I sent you a picture of her and said we have a baby, and so you're one of the first guys to find out. You were at the top of the list.
Man, I lost my voice at the Blossom tours because
I know,
I
I
was
know.
yelling out that you had the baby.
Oh, did you really?
I did tell it just about everybody. I was like,
Oh,
because I have the channel separately and then we have the deep end, right? So
right.
everybody I spoke to, obviously, I was like, oh, in the deep end. If people didn't already know about the deep end, I was sharing, what we're all about. And I was like, my co-host isn't here because actually him and his wife just had a baby. So no, you better believe it, man. I was telling everybody, I always got your six, man.
So, well, thank you, man. And can we get into that? I've been talking to Russ these last couple of days. We've been texting, and I know the big event was 2 nights ago now, right? The Chicago event. New York was a few days before that. I don't think we've talked since New York. So man, fill me in. How have the events been going?
Yeah.
What have been some of your takeaways? Who have you been meeting and chatting with? I feel like I need to live vicariously through you on this one. And it honestly, dude, I mean, I wouldn't trade places I with anyone right now. This has been awesome, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a little FOMO, seeing all the pictures, everyone hanging out. Looks like a really good time. So, dude, bring us all actually up to speed. All 20 of us here in the live stream.
Yeah. So first, let me just share to everybody, like, if you don't have plans and you can like afford to come to the Blossom final stop here in the tour, which is in LA, do it. Like, I don't care what you have to do. I don't care if it's an hour or 2 hours away. Maybe it's a little flight worth of an out. Like, just do it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I go to a lot of conferences for business. I love conferences because there's synergy there. It's just like crazy amounts of energy. But usually they're more professional folk related. These Blossom events are just for like retail investors. It's like a powwow with the retail investors. On a myopic scale, it's almost like a Berkshire like, I want to say event. Like, I don't want to compare it to that because it's hard to do that comparison. But at the end of the day, there's nothing like being in a room full of people who are hungry for financial success, whether they're beginners, novices, more experienced, or just wherever they fall on that spectrum. So it's really exciting. Now, New York was awesome. It was at the NASDAQ. Chicago's been, also awesome at SIBO. But LA is going to be on a rooftop. I think it's going to just be a different type of vibe. I think it's still going to be amazing. I will tell you, though, again, just to double down on this, like, the energy is real. I lost my voice because I'm so amped. I think I'm the craziest one on the stage, but I'm just going nuts, and I'm sharing after we get off the panels and we get to mix and match with everybody out there. Just so many questions are flooding in, and it's just such a blessing to be in a position to help other individuals out who are on this financial freedom journey of their own, no matter where they are. And I'm a billionaire because of it. I really feel like a billionaire because I get to be in a position to help others. And wow, the amount of conversations I've had. I'm sad that it's the last leg of the trip coming up next week. Now, in between time, Ron, I'm actually supposed to, you already know this, I'm supposed to be in Hawaii right now. Right now, I was going to do some R&R in Kauai, and I got in the flight yesterday. So I flew from Chicago. I was going to go down to San Diego, and from San Diego to Cabo. That was my first choice, right? It was Cabo for a little R&R. My brother calls me up and goes, Ari, you might want to cancel the plans. There's a massive hurricane that's going to hit Cabo. So I was like, well, shoot, where do I go? And then I was like, well, easy answer, Kauai or Hawaii or any of those islands. So I chose Kauai. I rerouted from Chicago O'Hare to LAX instead of San Diego. And I jumped on the last plane out of LAX. We get an hour into the air, medical emergency happens, and we turn around, we land back at LAX. So I'm still here in LA. I leave tomorrow morning for Maui, and I'm flying my brother out, and we're gonna spend some time together in Maui. So I'm really looking forward to that. And you better believe that I will recuperate and bring 10x the amount of energy that I brought to New York and SIBO. We're going all out in LA. Like, I hope my voice is barely even, audible.
You're going to have to stock up on some tea and honey, man.
Let's go. Already there.
So with all of that said, you've had the chance to have a lot of conversations with a lot of retail investors, people who are users on Blossom, probably people here in the deep end community. Have there been any conversations that have stood out to you? Are there any notable themes that you are getting from people in terms of kind of the questions that they're asking or the information they're looking for, kind of what I don't know where their head is at with all this investing stuff? Has there been anything like that jumps out to you?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been on, they I've been having really interesting conversations. The panels I've been on have been, whether it was a dividend investing panel to more of like the mindset, money mindset panel. I would say this, when I look out, from the stage into the audience, and when I hear the questions that come in, I this is just a thought that like is so front and center to me at this point. The traditional way of investing, to be kind of on your own and investing on your own, is dead and gone. And this is where I think that Blossom is an absolute powerhouse. And the direction in which all of us retail investors are moving is something we've never seen before. Because I see investors and I hear from investors, they don't want to do this solo anymore. They want to be in a community, literally an investing social community like Blossom's building, or a part of this deep end community, or just no one wants to do it alone, and you shouldn't have to. That's number one. And I'm an advocate for that, because we have force and power in numbers. I believe right now is the time in which we have arguably the biggest opportunity on our hands to quote unquote take Wall Street. And as long as we stick to our numbers and show up in strength, we can actually kind of dictate the direction of Wall Street. I'll get into that in a second. The second thing I want to say is that this is a mindset game. This is what I've been talking to a lot of people about at Blossom. If you want to continue to play small, that's fine. You can play small in the world of investing. But you have to, someone asked me this question. I'm still energized about it, but it's how I live my life. Someone was like, what's kind of the key to success? And how did you get to where you are today, and doing everything you're doing? And I was like, it all boils down to when you wake up in the morning and you open up your eyes and you realize, check this out, everyone in the chat, everyone that's joining us right now or who's watching this after, listen closely. You're already a billionaire. You are already a billionaire because you woke up with breath today. It wasn't promised. Why did I say that was the biggest key to success for me? Is because when you realize that you're already a billionaire, you start playing life differently. You start investing differently. You're no longer afraid to lose $5,000 when you're a billionaire. So throw the 5K into the market. Don't throw it into a penny stock unless you're ultra risky. But I'm saying, like, stop playing small. Play big. Be 110% in the game. And I think I've spoken to so many investors who are playing it small. They're playing it way too safe, and they're playing it way too small.
So what does that look like? Is it playing it safe and playing it small? Is this maybe investors who are afraid to get into the market at all? Like maybe they're just sitting in cash or in bonds, or what does that kind of look like? And what would be how do you get off the bench, get off the sidelines and get into the game from there, I suppose?
Yeah, you're waiting with a big chunk of cash, maybe on the sideline,
Okay.
or you have cash, but you're just throwing in like $100 here and there.
Hmm.
Like, I just encourage everybody who's out there who wants to become wealthy to start investing like a wealthy individual would invest.
So some people are holding back, you're saying. Some people have all this dry powder, but maybe they're waiting for, something to happen in the market to deploy all of that.
They're
Uh,
waiting, they're fearful. But like, again, I just encourage you to realize you're already a billionaire. What would you do if you were already a billionaire? I don't know about anybody else out there, but I'd go to Maui, and that's why I booked a flight, right? I don't know about anybody else out there, but like when I'm investing money, I'm going to invest thousands of dollars at a time, not tens, 20s, or hundreds. Now,
yeah.
how do you get there? I do look, I just think I know I get it. I'm intense, but look, everybody can find hundreds of dollars per week to invest. You can do it. And if you don't have it right now, then I highly recommend you find a means to get it. And you can.
Yeah, I mean, what's that quote? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, like you're right. You know, if you
You're
think you
right.
can or if you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always
And
a good
I've
one.
just, man, like the more I've spoken to people, like, at the NASDAQ, I had like after the panel, I was, you basically there's the panels and then afterwards you're just mingling. But I had like, I kid you not, like a dozen and a half younger investors in front of me ask me these questions because they're like, dude, your energy is insane. Like you're investing, like da da da. And this is when I was really having these conversations of like keys to success. And I said, it's really, really simple. You want to get to where I'm at, like at least Coast Fire or more. I literally pointed at each and every one of them. I said, what's your schedule? What do you do on a day to day? And
Yeah.
we went down that schedule, man.
So
And
did you find a lot of those people had some,
gaps
they
and
had,
missing time.
mm,
Like, what are you doing with that time?
yeah, yeah. You know, I will say, man, because this whole content creation thing uh, has really been a good vehicle for both of us in that department. Um, and I know I've said this numerous times, but I'm a big advocate for everyone and anyone doing something like this, having some sort of channel or an Instagram page or a Twitter or name whatever TikTok, name whatever platform you want. I'm a huge advocate for something like that, and um, I think the good thing about having something like this is it's kind of exactly what you described. These people with whatever gaps in their schedule that they can fill. The good thing is you can fit it in however you want to. You can make any of this, you can make it work for your schedule. You can put as much into it as you want or, as little into it as you want. If you can only make one video a week or one post a week, whatever that looks like for you, you could do it, number one. But number two, the good thing about this is you don't need anyone's permission to do something like this. You can start tomorrow. You can create a YouTube channel or a LinkedIn account or whatever it is, you don't need anyone's permission to do this. Okay. You can just start posting. And in my experience, you never know what those things can grow into. Man, I've said this before, but if you would have told me coming up on, well, I guess 5 years. I started my channel. I posted my first video October 15th, 2020. So coming up on 5 years. If you would have told me 6 years ago that I'd be sitting here doing what I'm doing today, man, I would have thought you were crazy. Never would have thought it. And, like I said, you just never know what these things can grow into. And so, yeah, if you're looking for an extra passive income stream or looking for an extra way to make money, or maybe looking for a change in career, like I said, this is a pretty good thing to get into because it's a great way to express yourself and what you're into and what you're interested in. And it can be lucrative too if you just stick with it. Same thing with investing, you know. It can grow over time with consistency and discipline, just like with investing. So I'm a huge advocate for anyone doing something like this, especially young people, like those young people you were talking to, maybe living at home, maybe not, probably don't have a whole lot of responsibilities, which could possibly explain the scheduling gap that they can fill. Start doing something like this. Come on, let's go.
Well, man, dude, I met some people also at the Blossom event that really wanted help on a different front, which was almost, it was good coaching, and let's go, like I just, this is a mentality, it's a run your life. Like I always say, like a CEO,
Yeah.
invest like a CEO, live like a CEO, like this, because you really are a CEO already.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I've been seeing, and I've seen him say this a lot in the past too, but more recently, I've been seeing PPC Ian, who you just got to meet. I've been seeing him say things like this too. He acts as if he's the CEO of his life. I've heard him say that or write it on wherever. He also says he's the CEO of his portfolio, and it's true. It's a
Well,
great way to think.
we often give power away for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't play like that.
Well,
We like
it's
to give power away because it's more comfortable when things go wrong than to have the out that like we're not responsible for it.
so yeah, you can have someone to blame. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when you cut that card out of the deck and it's just you, like it's just you. You know, like
Mm,
you're like, I made this investment, it went awry. Crap. It was because I didn't do my due diligence or this or that. Or let's say you did all the due diligence in the world and it still didn't work out. What's your mentality like then? And
mm,
I revert back to saying, how does the billionaire think?
yeah. Let me ask you this, man, because you mentioned a few moments ago that one of your takeaways is investors do not want to do this alone. They want to, they want a sense of community. They want to know that they are not alone on this journey. When you were talking about that, one of my first thoughts went to financial advisors, because you've never had to do it alone. You could have someone do it for you and kind of hold your hand through the process and make those decisions for you. So you don't really have to think about it. What do you what do you think about the future of financial advisors? Do you think that there will always be a place for them, or do you foresee them with, as people feel more empowered to make their own decisions and have this growing sense of community of people who are kind of on the same journey? Do you see any possibility of that type of job or service going by the wayside? Especially, sorry, last part of the question, especially with all of the ETFs that are coming out that also help to make investing more automated and hands off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think ultimately what we've been seeing now for a bit of time, and we're going to continue to see more and more, is more DIY investors because we have YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all of these platforms where people just like me and you, Ryan, can get, comfortable with getting in front of a camera and a mic in front of us and sharing our journey. Not and it's going to be the right types of creators who are going to be able to have the biggest influence here in, I think, the next wave of creators, simply telling their stories, not trying to
Hmm.
sell garbage, literally telling your story.
Hmm.
No pump and dumps, like none of this crap I think we've seen in the last like 5 to 10 years where like you've had some big influencers and they're like, buy these stocks, the company's like paying them. I think the influencers or finfluencers rather that are going to have the biggest say, or at least the biggest ability to help, are just the individuals who don't even know they're wearing a cape, but they're sharing their stories, because it comes down to, hey, if Ryan can do it, I can do it.
Yep.
Hey, if Ari can do it, I can do it. And this is all that he did. He just was buying dividend stocks, or he was buying these ETFs. Like this, that's it. That's how easy it is. I don't think that, you know, and it's only because of institutionals that are still going to play a role. Like, I don't think at the end of the day, advisors will ever fully go away. But I do think what we'll ultimately see happen is the advisors that are full of crap and they know who they are, they will go away.
Yeah, it kind of seems like, and I don't have too much experience with them, but it kind of seems like in a lot of ways I'm totally generalizing and I'm probably way off base on what I'm about to say, but from the limited dealings I've had with financial advisors, it does kind of seem like a lot of what they do is push whatever funds that they are representing. Like, for example, if you have an Edward Jones advisor, like, I think a big part of their job is to push the Edward Jones mutual funds, and replace the company name there. But from what I gather, that's a lot of the job. And I could be off base, but that's kind of what I take away from it.
Yeah, I just interviewed someone for Masters of the Market. I met this individual, and he'll be on with us because I'll just kind of break the news a little bit here. Ryan and I are in the works of putting together like a book club. Hopefully,
Hmm.
we get that off the ground at some point for everybody to join us. We'll read a book together, and then we're going to invite the author on with us and everybody out there can ask questions. And I think it would be a really cool thing. Ryan and I are very excited about that whenever that happens.
I'm very excited.
But Derek Kinney is someone I met at the airport going to FinCon, all because I just opened my mouth, and we have this beautiful relationship now. Derek Kinney used to run one of the largest, most successful financial advising firms in the United States. So he started his career off as an advisor. But if you all tune into my next Masters of the Market, which is going to drop either Sunday or Monday of this week, you'll hear Derek and his true opinion on the financial advisors. But I think what's different about Derek from others out there is a guy like Derek isn't in it for like, he's not full of crap. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's no longer a financial advisor. He's an author and a speaker, and he does a couple other things. But it's just fascinating about his story. He talks a lot about what to do before you even start investing. And then when it comes to investing, he's like, you don't even really need an advisor. Like, just keep it simple. Like, he's from a former advisor, just saying, like, keep it simple. Index funds or an ETF, the S&P.
Yeah, this comment from Michael kind of hits on that too. Investing really is a simple concept if you do it quote unquote right. Some people overcomplicate it for others or themselves. I will say, I think, yeah, it can get overcomplicated. I think some people have an interest in it though and like to get deep in the weeds with this stuff. And I think that's fine if you have that interest. If you don't have that interest though, I don't think you should feel the pressure to get deep in the weeds. And that's where the funds, the ETFs, I guess ETFs are funds. That's where those really come in handy. It can definitely be simple and straightforward and hands off if you want it to be.
But I also think Wall Street likes to make it that complicated because if it sounds complicated, you need them.
That's okay. So I was going to ask why is that? And that's what you think because they want it to be mysterious because
that's even what Derek was sharing. He's like, it's all made complicated out so nobody can understand it. And then you got to hire someone to do it for you. But that's where I come in and say the DIY investor will win now. Because people buy from people that they like and they trust, but no one needs to buy from us anymore, Ryan. No one's buying from us at all. You're just watching our journeys and you're trusting that our journey is what it is. And then therefore, only the influencers or finfluencers that ultimately really resonate with their fan base or audience or whatever you want to call them, their following, who are really authentic and not in it being bought out by Wall Street and bought out by whatever companies, because that is happening now. It has been happening. It will probably continue to happen. But Ryan, you, me, and everybody else out there knows exactly which creators are full of it, full of fluff, bought out by firms.
Yeah. So it's so interesting, man. We've been making videos now, I think both for close to 5 years. I think we started right around the same time. I remember when I first got into investing and was first even thinking about starting a channel, man, it was very basic stuff. It was just a guy and a camera, exactly what you described, just someone documenting their journey, portfolio update, dividend income, what I'm buying. It was just kind of like, day in the life of an investor type stuff. Very simple, very basic. And I feel like over time, and just a sidebar to continue that thought, that's what I liked about doing this on YouTube. That's what really resonated with me. And it was those type of videos that made me want to throw my hat in the ring and take that same approach. It looks like these guys who I really look up to, who make it seem like a simple concept, like Michael was saying, these guys make it seem simple and straightforward. And they're average people just like me. All they're doing is just sharing what they're doing in their portfolios. And that seems really cool. That's what, number one, gave me the confidence to start investing. But number two, like, made me want to start doing this myself. And it's been the best thing ever. But I wanted to ask you, like, because I know because we got into it at the same time, that's kind of like how I would imagine that was your entry into this too. It was seeing those same people. And maybe this happens with every niche. I don't really know. I have seen it in the fitness space too, a very similar trajectory. It does seem like over time, as this is kind of this hobby or this space on the internet has started to grow in popularity, it does seem like, right, it's kind of gotten away from what made it cool and approachable in the first place. It does seem like there was a period of time, or we've gone through, maybe still are going through a period of time where the goalposts have continued to move farther back in terms of the type of things that you need to do, or the type of videos or podcast episodes or articles that you need to make, whatever it is, to get that attention, because it has gotten more competitive, it's gotten more popular, to the point where maybe it's kind of like what I think you were saying, it's kind of gotten a bit out of hand. Uh is that kind of the sense that you get in this space too, kind of the vibe that you've gotten, or this trajectory, or is that just me?
I think, as time has gone on, more companies have recognized the necessity to work with us. And I
Okay.
think that it's being taken for granted on our side that all of these companies are throwing money,
Mm.
at us, and we're just kind of doing everything. And I think ultimately, I will say outright, not to toot our horns, Ryan, but a lot of people did in fact come up to me at the Blossom so far, 2 stops there in NASDAQ and SIBO, and say like, wow, I love the deep end. I love the conversations that you and
Really?
Ryan are having. I did hear a fair amount of that.
So we've had you've been able to meet actual deep end
Yes.
listeners in person. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Unreal.
And it's a real honor. I mean, first of all, they watch you and I individually, and then they watch us together here on the deep end. So it's like they've been with us for a while. Those are specifically the individuals that I was like, Ryan's here in spirit. He'll be here next year. Him and his wife had a baby. So yeah, but they're there. They were there. And I think what allows us to generate the loyalty in our community that we have is the fact that we have remained true to ourselves. We haven't been bought out, and we won't be bought out.
Hoorah.
Hoorah.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, I do think at a certain point you will see the pendulum start to swing back to its origin. I think there will be a point in time where things get to be a bit too fake or too forced or too, I don't know, too clickbaity, whatever word you want to use. I think things will get to be too much, to the point where you will see the pendulum start to swing back to what made it cool in the first place. Just people will yearn more and more for people who are just documenting their journeys. And we've kind of started to see that in the editing too. Like I've talked to so many people who are like, yeah, I'm kind of chilling out on the editing because there's too many actually, you and I have talked about this. Too many transitions, too many whooshes, just too much going on. And it's kind of gotten to be a bit too much. So I do think you will see things swing, and are already starting to see things swing back to basics. And I think that's just where it needs to stay. That's what made it cool in the first place. And that's what makes YouTube cool in general. Um, and I think that's also what is going to get more people to actually throw their hat in the investment ring and start doing this for themselves. You have to. I think it was Russ and I have talked about this before. People they don't like to learn from someone who is miles and miles ahead of them, way, way farther ahead in the game. People tend to like to learn from other people who are kind of like them, from people who are maybe one or two steps ahead in the game, um, because it seems a bit more achievable. It seems a bit more possible versus if they were trying to get into it from someone who's like a financial advisor throwing all these crazy terms and jargon at them. It's just not going to land.
I agree with you on the advisor part. like throwing jargon and all that. But I want to say this: if you don't get your act together, if you're not willing to play in the arena with Warren Buffett or plug any successful investor out there, you might want to just like recheck yourself. For me, like I keep going back to this, play like a billionaire. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. And so I just want to like break ice here with the people who are like, oh, that person's too far ahead. I don't really want to listen to them. It should be that person's so far ahead. I need to hear them.
Yeah, you're right. As long as that person still has to be a normal person. Like you can be a normal person and have like a crazy inspirational investment portfolio. I guess what I'm trying to say is you can't be someone that, I don't know, the whole financial advisor, Wall Street person. It's just not going to land as well.
That's like a person though. It's like walking the walk. What, like talking and talk, but not walking the walk. Like that's most of Wall Street. Like you got to be careful with people who are quote unquote in the suits, because you don't know like what they're really doing, what they're pitching versus what they're really invested in. Most of Wall Street folk are invested in the S&P 500. Like so. You got to really understand and know that most of the products that are launched on Wall Street are not backed by the people who even launched it. Very, very few fund managers invest in their funds. Got to think about that. And yet everybody else out there like doing the hokey pokey, like investing in these funds, like, but then all the fund managers aren't invested in their own fund. That to me means like that's a red flag. Like the alarms are going off for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's following, that's going to war, and the general who's supposed to be on the battlefield with you is nowhere to be found. I wouldn't follow a leader like that. I follow the leader who's at the front. And then when I lead, I'm at the front. That's simple, but I think, again, we want to believe so badly, that something will work, and we are looking for fast cash, and this is what Wall Street plays on. You want fast cash? You want to be rich next week? We got you for X amount in fees. Like, so again, just you always got to be careful, and that was another thing I spoke to a lot of investors about. This whole get rich quick thing. I even asked, what was it in I think it was SIBO. When I was like, who's in it for the money? So you raise your hand. Who's in this thing for the money?
It's almost like a trick question.
Yeah. Because you are, but really what you're in it, at least for me, like it makes a difference when it's the mindset shift and you're in it for an entirely different lifestyle.
Yeah, this is where it becomes a trick question, because yes, it's the lifestyle and the freedom and the opportunities that money provides, but you're also in it for the money because of that. So yes, you're in it for the money, but not for money's sake. It's the money as a means to an end. And that, that kind of ties back to something that I was going to ask earlier in this conversation, as far as, means to an end. It's money's a means to what end? You mentioned, people are asking, how do you become successful? Well, it's interesting, man. I was thinking, man, what even is success? Like how would one define success? How would you define success? What does that look like?
Well, this was one of the conversations that I had at NASDAQ with the whole crew of people that were in front of me asking me that very question. Like, how do we get to where you are? And, a part of what I asked them was like, well, let me ask you this. What's your rich life look like? And more than half of them are like, what do you mean? I don't know. And that's a problem, because if you don't know what your rich life looks like, then you'll never get there. So you really do need to understand like what you want your life to look like what makes you rich. I talk about this all the time. My life has showcased it now more than ever, but I travel. That's what I do. That's what I like doing. I won't stop doing it. when I find a somebody and build, a whole family worth of somebody's, like, we're going to be traveling. That's going to be the thing. And I just think you have to know yourself so well. And this is something I spoke to Derek Kinney about, who's going to, again, this next guest on Masters of the Market. He was big on it too. And he even said, like, you don't get on a plane and the pilot's like, well, we're going to just start flying off to Maui. Like, they know they were going to go to Maui because they had it on the schedule for weeks now. So know where you're going. I just think, one, a lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know where they're going. And so therefore they get invested into anything. And they just say this, I want to be rich. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Being rich doesn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm. I think what you said just there is a real problem. People will just invest in anything. They'll invest in the first the first thing or all the things that they see other people talking about and don't question it beyond that. I think that's a real problem.
And we saw that at the, the two events thus far.
Yeah.
And that's also a big question, right? Like, how do you know what to invest in? Well, then that always ties back to the investor profile.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the time.
I think a good way to because that's a really tough question to answer. I think a good way to start by answering that, though, is by just flipping it on its head and start by asking, okay, well, what shouldn't you invest in? What are some bad investments? And I'm thinking out loud, but the couple of things that come to mind are obviously a bad investment is something that's going to lose you money. Okay, well, how do you know what that is? I don't know. Maybe we could dive into that a bit more. But the second thing that you definitely shouldn't invest in is something that you don't understand. It's like those are the two big things. So I think if you can at least start with that. So I was about to flip off everyone. The
You've
second thing
changed
there,
since you become a dad,
dude.
man.
I know, man. I don't
You
even
don't
know
have
who I
time
am
for
anymore.
any of us anymore.
Got this Harry Potter scab and I'm flipping people off. But I think that's the best place to start. If you want to figure out what you should invest in, start with the things you shouldn't invest in. And one of the big things you should invest in is something that you don't understand. So just start going through the different industries or even the different ETFs if you know you want to go the ETF route and start crossing off all the super complicated ones. Okay. You probably don't need a leveraged ETF. You probably don't need something with synthetic covered calls. And this kind of ties back to the whole conversation about Wall Street making things complicated by design, I think. So start crossing those things off and start narrowing down the list from there. That's how I would do it.
What, Charlie Munger inversion style?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think enough people. I love when people talk about Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger or anybody else who is on their playing field, because it's so easy to talk about these guys, but almost impossible for people to actually execute like them. Simple point in case. Warren Buffett drove one freaking car basically his whole life. But yet the person who's like, oh, I read all the Warren Buffett books and I'm a big Warren Buffett guy, and Warren Buffett said this and he said that, but they're on their third or fourth car. Like
yeah.
like you have to. At least when you talk to me, I'm listening. I'm listening to what you say, and then therefore my next statement is always like, show me your schedule. Your schedule won't hide who you are. Your portfolio won't hide who you are.
Well, I think it goes back in terms of, wanting to be like the greats, which everyone does. Everyone would love to be, akin to a Warren or Charlie. I think we all take inspiration from them. But going back to what you said earlier in this conversation, so much of it, and you gave some good examples there just now. The car thing's a great example. So much of this is, and so much of what they studied is human behavior and human psychology. They knew how much that applied to investing, but also, I mean, stuff like that applied in their own lives. They weren't chasing these these dopamine material dopamine hits, you know what I'm saying? It just, they understood that that was a short-term fix for an insatiable problem. I think that's, to your point, that's a big psychological roadblock that they just chose not to take part in.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I even wanted to say that one of these conversations I had with somebody, I said to him, we did talk about wins, celebrating those wins. Because I'm like,
Mm.
if you celebrate your wins, let's say you get to your first $10,000 and go do a little something with your life, you'll want to hit the next 10K. Like I had a hell of a year. Like I just had a hell, and it's not even over yet, but you know, if I just open up, and I'll do it right now.
You're saying that in a good way.
Yeah, a
Okay.
great year. Fantastic year. Just opening up Vanguard. Because I'm gonna hit 375 plus this year. I'm sitting at right now 362.7.
Oh, dang.
Like I'm gonna hit over 375 in the portfolio by end of year easy.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing this Maui trip and I'm taking my brother with, and it's really cool, by the way. I'm taking my brother with me. And we're just going to do like 5 days before the last Blossom event. And I'm going to be in Maui with my brother. We're flying there tomorrow. We're staying in a freaking epic hotel. And my brother's like, what's the budget? I'm like, screw the budget right now. We're celebrating
We're
wins.
billionaires. Billionaires
Yeah.
don't have a budget.
But dude, the reason I say that is because, yeah, first of all, it's that mindset. But second of all, what I'm really getting at with this is like, I earned it. And guess who's coming guns freaking blazing into 2026? Me. Because I don't want to, next year, I want the end of year trip to be even better.
That's going to be the 500K trip.
Yeah, watch out, world. Who knows where I'm going? Freaking Mars.
Man. Yeah, I feel like we could riff on this subject for hours, but I think you were telling me you've got a good question from Blossom, I think a good DM. I think we've got a couple
Yeah.
good comments here in the live chat. And by the way, guys, drop all of your investing comments or questions here in the chat, and we'll run through some of them throughout the rest of the episode. Would love to hear what's on your guys' mind here.
Well, this first one that came in, you know, it's not even a question really. Someone was just sharing a little bit about their story. You know, I've been a big saver. Let me just read to you what came in, and then I wanted to dissect it a little bit because I thought that this individual had used some interesting language, and I think language is big. So I just saw in the chat. We'll talk about the Italian girl in a bit.
All right, I'll save that. I'll save
Ryan,
that one.
I think Ryan's there you go.
That's so funny.
Okay, so this came in. I've always been a big saver. I don't want to stop there for a second. You know, I'll keep going. I have a 401k through my company and recently started investing in ETFs through my Roth IRA with Fidelity. I'm 37 years old, planning to retire at 65, thinking about how much money can grow over time through compound interest and dividends really excite me. I just want to stop there to just highlight something that I actually then immediately commented on with this individual. And I said, being a big saver is good, but it won't get you to where you need to be. Be a big investor. Mindset.
And it's, you know, you have to, I completely agree. And in a sense, you kind of have to change how you think about money. You know, I've been reading a bit more about this. This is going to be a bit woo-woo, so I apologize in advance. And I might have talked about this before, so I apologize for that too if I'm repeating myself. But one thing that I've been reading more about is money as not as a thing necessarily to be hoarded, but money is a form of energy that needs to continue to flow, you know, and if you just let your money sit in a checking account or a savings account, essentially I mean, think of it as like a river, right? Or a current or something like that. A river with a current. If you just keep it, sitting in your checking account, it's like you're building a dam and you're cutting off that current. You're disrupting that flow and you're cutting off that flow. And in doing so, it's going to in a way make it harder to continue to build that stockpile, which is kind of counterintuitive because you think by saving money you are building that up, but you're going to be much better off in the long run if you aid that flow, if you do things that further that current and allow money to keep going. And if you allow it to keep going, it's going to come back to you in a greater amount. And this is essentially the snowball effect or the compounding effect that we're describing. um, and so I think obviously some saving is good, but too much of a good thing is not always so good. And so you need to allow your money to continue flowing and working for you and become more abundant. And it's going to have a harder time doing that if you get in the way of that flow. Like I said, it sounds a bit mystical, but I think it is helpful to think of it as like this energy source that you put out there and then you get it back. It's kind of like Ari's open palm theory. It's actually like a very similar idea. If you have this open palm theory with your money, where you are opening yourself up to whatever opportunities, you're inviting that energy, that good energy, to come into your life, and financially, it's going to create more abundance.
Yeah, it's like the law of attraction.
Yeah, there you go.
It's an abundance mindset.
Exactly. Yeah.
But that's why I say, like, play like a billionaire. Stop playing like a broke, nothingaire. Like okay, you invest $10, whoop-de-doo. Can you invest 1,000?
Yeah, and don't get us wrong. $10 is a good place to start, but you shouldn't be complacent with that
But I'm
forever. Like,
insane.
yeah, I know. Well, no, I mean, we all got to start somewhere, but at the same time, like, the guys, this is an infinite game. This is something you can do for the rest of your life, and there are infinite levels to this. If you start at level 1, that's much better than not starting at all, and you can rock at level 1 for a while, but eventually you're going to want to move on to level 2 and level 3 and level 4 and so on and so forth. And that doesn't apply to the size of your portfolio, but also the contributions that you're making. And to be able to increase those contributions, you're going to have to level up yourself.
Yeah. Ryan, you're always my balance translator. I'm like, invest everything, do it. You can do it. Do whatever you have to do. And you're like, well, you just get a job in a second job, So
no, I mean, you're spot on. You're spot on. But I want to try and give people the path. Like, it doesn't happen immediately. It doesn't happen overnight. It should happen eventually. It's not going to happen without you actively making it happen. And $10 a week or $10 whatever is great, but over time, like, challenge yourself to do better. That doesn't just apply to your contributions. Like, in your life, that's how you should think. Like, challenge yourself to do more than you did yesterday on all fronts.
Agree. I have a crazy idea, and then I'll get back to reading this thing.
Okay.
Dude, what if
we're not done? We're not done
we're
with
not
that
even
one?
done yet.
Oh,
No.
okay.
This is a
Whew.
good message coming up from the same individual. I was
All
just
right,
thinking that
buckle up.
what if one day we did like a 24-hour live stream?
Dude, that would be nuts.
Would that be the craziest freaking thing ever? But I think it would be awesome. Like Mr.
That would be
Beast did some
crazy.
crazy things. But Ryan and I will do maybe one day 24 hours of just going at it all day long.
You know what we should do? I think maybe next year for the Blossom Tour, we should do that. We should do like a it'd be much easier to do in person versus just like sitting here, BSing for like 24 hours straight.
Yeah, 24 hours. We're just going. People will just bring us food and drink.
No, dude, we'll
going.
just get those helmets with like the cup holders and the can holders. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Get a couple. I'll throw a couple milk cartons in there.
So we have here. My portfolio is fairly diversified. I have a few individual growth stocks and some crypto, although I'm more cautious now after making some poor investment decisions in the past. I also tried day trading, but I quickly realized it's not for me. I lost quite a bit of money, and the stress was unbelievable. Over the years, I've learned a lot from those experiences, and I'm grateful for the lessons. Here's where it gets interesting, Ryan. For the past 2 years, I've been also following a budget, which has really helped me track where my money goes and stay disciplined. I've even used and have been using cash envelopes to set aside money for specific purposes. And that system has worked really well for me. Now, I didn't respond yet, and I will after this. It's probably dangerous that I'm responding after because I'm going to be all fired up. So this individual better just be cautious. But, what I have to say about that is, well, I get it. It's like it's cute stuff, I think the playtime is over. Like, you shouldn't be using envelopes, right? Like it's just get your stuff together quickly and invest and play like a billionaire. I'm gonna go back to it and back to it and back to it, man. One of these individuals that I just met, get this, 21-year-old kid starting his own business. Already started, already has a product, and he's been pitching investors. And I asked him, like, how many investors over the last couple of years has he pitched? He's like, ballpark, maybe like 400 to 500. And he's looking for a seed investment right now of like 45K, like, his whole story. I said, you know what the problem is? It's not his name, but I'm just gonna use the name Phil. I said, you know what the problem is, Phil? It's not your product, it's you. Because someone like me takes one look at you, and I have no belief in you. He just went white face. But I was like, who's gonna want to invest in someone that's not actually like all in the moment, right now, right here, showing up as a billionaire? I'm not buying your product, Phil. I'm buying you. It's just that level of conviction. And we need it. We need it as investors.
So you don't like the cash envelope thing, Ben?
No.
Not a fan.
No, I have a problem with it.
Is that
not making money?
I could be wrong. Is that a Dave Ramsey thing? Is that his thing? Wasn't he a cash
I'm not
envelope?
a Dave Ramsey guy. I don't even know.
I'm not either. See, this is where, okay. I think, once again, kind of like I was saying, $10 is a great place to start. Cash envelopes is a great place to start. If you really like, if
Ryan's my balance translator.
if your budget's honestly, like if your budget was so, like if you're so underwater financially every month that's what you need to do to get back on solid ground, then fantastic. I think that's great. I do hope in the meantime, and I think it's impossible probably not to, but I do hope in the meantime, while you are doing that and setting aside that cash, I do hope that you are looking at your budget and seeing where that money is going and seeing what's, what you're spending money on that's like a very discretionary want versus what's actually a need. It seems like probably, I generally think if you are that far underwater on your budget, you probably got some bad habits. And when I say bad habits, I mean just bad hobbies, bad things that you're spending money on, things that you really, really, really just do not need. I really think you need to get back to basics. Okay. Just chicken and rice. Like you need to just get back to square one and really start from scratch. And I do think if, this cash envelope thing helps you in that process, then man, whatever it takes. But then I don't know. I guess I don't really know where to go from there. And I will say, like, I'm saying that knowing someone who did this cash envelope thing. One of my buddies here in Vegas, that was his family situation. Like they had a huge spending problem, a lot of credit card debt, with mortgage and kids and cars to pay off. It was just really bad situation. And the cash envelope thing actually it kicked off a big change for them, and they did that for a period of time. And a part of that was saving to pay off their completely pay off their mortgage. And within the span of I think a few years, it's actually pretty cool story, or pretty cool turnaround, I should say. They went from being, and I mean, kind of rags to riches. You hear this a lot, this depth stories a lot, but it was one of those things where they were just totally underwater in terms of like debt and their finances, to then having like a completely paid off house, no debt whatsoever. They stopped doing the cash envelope thing, which was cool. I couldn't imagine doing that for the rest of my life, but it ended up being a good thing for them, and it was a stepping stone to like a more balanced budget, I should say. And they got to the point where they don't even like need to keep a budget anymore, because like those lifestyle habits or the things that they were spending money on, it's just not even part of their lifestyle anymore. And that's what you need to change. It's a lifestyle tweak.
Yeah, dude. See, for me, I just look at it like I know, how do I put this? I think the best way to put it is like what Alex Hermosi has shared once before in a video of his, and he's like, the people who are really successful are broken. They lack an off switch, and I feel like that's me. Like I don't feel like I kind of know that's me. Like I lack the ability to kind of balance out like what you just said, right? You're like, oh, we're gonna make this little tweak. For me, it's like you're either this or that, so just pick one and do it. And I don't know where that comes from for me. I'll give you a good example that's not even investment related, but we were in Bayonne, New Jersey for the Blossom event. We stayed in Bayonne. Event was obviously at NASDAQ. I woke up one morning, and for me, I'm a big sunrise, sunset guy. So I was like, I'm going to go for a sunrise run. And I looked at my phone, and as I was running, and I saw that I had like maybe like 15 minutes before sunrise, and I was still like quite a bit of ways away from the destination. And like for a second, my mind was like, well, should you just turn around and go back? Like you might not make it. Then all of a sudden, this crazy voice inside of me goes, turn around. I'm not even going to say what I said to myself on camera,
Uh-oh.
but I go, turn around. You're going to die trying to get to where you're going. And I just started booking it. Long story short, that morning I ran 14 miles.
Nice.
And then I spoke at the NASDAQ. So I lack a switch, I think, inside of me that's like cool it, just cool down. It's just like all in or all out. And I like the way that I live. It's intense. Yeah. It's very intense, but it's gotten me to really, really good places.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what makes the world go. That's what makes the world go round, man.
Well, that's when I see like, okay, when someone like there's going to be a difference when you go. I think we all know who we're going to when we go to them for advice or suggestions. There's going to be people who are going to want like some crazy direct suggestions or advice or whatever, just words of inspiration from me versus someone who's going to go to you, Ryan.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'm also I don't want it to come across like I'm the type of person who's like, no, you're fine just the way that you are, because I don't like that either. I try and strike a balance between, if you want to change, then great. Like I think, yeah, we all have things that we can work on, and you should strive to do better today than you were yesterday. I think that's like, for me, that's just a huge theme in my life, is just infinite gains and progress. And I know you're the same way. But I try and strike a balance between that. Like, yes, go change now, with, yeah, but you got to do it step by step. I'm a bit more lukewarm about it. I think is a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I think I'm like
fire hot. I'm a bit more dip my toe in, where you are like,
my head's already under the water.
Like double gainer, pencil dive with a cinder block tied to your feet. Dive in.
I do want to address a comment though that's in that chat right now. GD.
This one?
Yeah. Ari doesn't even respect Ryan. First of all, it makes me laugh. Respect Ryan's investment strategy anymore, but he won't say it, being polite, shaking my head. First of all, I totally respect Ryan's investment style. Here's why. Because I'm not Ryan. Like everybody, I respect everybody's investment style. If you have points on the board, you have points on the board. What I look at and what I'll always advocate for, and Ryan knows this better than anybody because even off camera, Ryan and I talk about it. But I will always say, like, for everybody, even myself, this is just objective questioning. Hey, you have this amount of points on the board. You're doing great. Period. Could you do better? Question mark. And so, yeah, sometimes I will pass over to Ryan. Hey, man, you ever think about getting into more growth or tech? It's not that I disrespect anybody's investment strategy, but I think it's always worth questions, a game of questions. And I think the more people who have questioned me on my journey, whether or not I've gone with them or not on it, it's just helped me grow and helped me come to better understand myself even more. And I think that's really important to recognize. I will say I respect the heck out of Ryan's ability to stay his course. That's unique and that's rare.
Well, I think that's all you can ask for anyone, right? From anyone, I suppose. I think all you can ask from another investor is that they're doing the things that suit them the best.
Yeah.
Because, like we've talked about numerous times throughout this conversation, there are so many people who are not, who are investing based on what other people are doing, and that's wrong. And the outcome of that could be good, but the input's wrong. The process is screwed up, and so all we can try and do as investors is the best by ourselves, and that's going to look different for every investor. So no, it's even though Ari doesn't invest the same way that I do, uh it's not a matter of disrespect. It's just a matter of being different people with different temperaments and different risk tolerances, and also different places in life too. There's so much that goes into this that's not necessarily directly related to investing. There is so much nuance and human behavior and specificity amongst different people that goes into how they should invest. And like I said, just say it once again, the only thing that we can ask of each other is that we're doing things that resonate the most with who we actually are.
Yeah. And to follow that up, I think it's just interesting to mention this. Like, I don't have a wife nor a kid right now. So like me going to Maui and doing something crazy and like, taking a chunk of change to bring my brother with me, like I wouldn't suggest Ryan do something like that. So I
Yeah,
wouldn't suggest Ryan invest like I do because of the fact that he has a different situation than me.
and to Ari's point, like I'm listening to him be so gung ho like he is. That's just how he is. I'm listening to that thinking, yeah, there's a lot that I can take away from that. I've been a bit financially distracted lately with this baby. We've been saving for car. Prior to this, it was saving for the house. There's been a lot of things that my family's had to check off our list really this last year and a half. And I'm listening to Ari talk about this stuff tonight as we're kind of getting through a lot of these, checking these things off. We're going to probably buy a new car in the next couple of months. And I think after that, like I'm getting back to what we've talked about. Like I'm doing good with my contributions and my investments, but I know I can do more. I haven't done more. I've held back. I've held back this last year because we've had these other things that we're trying to get off of our checklist. And once those are done and out of the way, it's like it's game on. Like I want to have those weeks where one week I'm here, but the next week I'm telling you, like you've told me countless times this year, like, oh yeah, I'm up another 10, 15 grand. Yeah, I've put X amount into the market this month or this week compared to last week. And it's like, man, once this stuff is behind us, it's like I'm focused. I'm in it. I'm back in it. I'm ready to go because I want to get to that point too. For the same reason that we talked about earlier, because this is a means to an end. This is a means to that rich life that we're all trying to strive for. And I know I can do more. I know I can do more than I have been. And I need someone like Ari, even though we do things differently sometimes or have different temperaments and mindsets, clearly, I need someone like that to push my buttons and push me to do more than I have been. I think that's what a good friend is, really, at the end of the day.
We'll put it like this. I think it's as simple as this. no one else is going to have my rich life. Like what my rich life looks like is different from Ryan's rich life, which is different from everybody else's rich life. So when I say play like a billionaire, that's not me saying play like me, invest like me. It's me saying invest like you, but go big. It's not me saying, Ryan, change your entire strategy. It's me saying double down on your freaking strategy and play
Like
big.
do you to the fullest.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier, some people go to people looking for advice because though they know those people are going to tell them what they want to hear. Ari's not always going to tell me
Never.
or us here what we want to hear,
Never.
Never. And that's, once again, I think that's what a good friend is. And Ari is nothing but that to me. So
Well, likewise, Ryan, to you. I mean, like I keep saying, you're my balance translator. Sips the drink. But the
yin and
reality
yang,
is,
man. Yin and yang.
I think, I was talking to Brandon for those of you who don't know, Brandon's the CMO of Blossom, and like there's going to be some cool things at Blossom that will roll out for me and Ryan, and one of those things we certainly hope is to do like a cool podcast type of episode, maybe on the next Blossom tour next year, like in person or something of the sort, or like Ryan and I takes the stage together. The reality is, it's as clear as daylight. Ryan and I have two very different personalities, or like, personalities. But here's the deal: we balance each other out so well. And so off screen, when we're messaging each other, like we just keep each other in check. But that's exactly what, good friendship is. And I highly recommend that if you don't have a crazy friend who's yelling at you to do some crazy stuff, go find one. And if you're on the other side, you don't have a Ryan where he's a pretty balanced, even keel guy saying like, hey, like, let's look at it this way, tone it down, go find one. Because when you have that yin and yang, I mean, you really do get the best of both worlds. That's even in business. There's usually at any given company, think about Apple just for a good example. You have Tim Cook, who's very data driven, but then you had Johnny Ives, who is all design. They balanced each other out. And that's at every successful company. There's always a balance. The visionary needs to be brought down to earth sometimes with some data and stats, but yet the data and stats guy needs to be launched to the sky with a vision. And that's just how these things work. And so I hope by way of Ryan and I having conversations like this, all of you see that, how it's favorable to you to have in your network your opposite.
Mm-hmm. And I will say too, as much as these conversations are like for you guys to maybe think more about some of this stuff or think deeper or differently about some of this stuff, these conversations are also like an exploration for ourselves to learn more about ourselves. And there's a lot of self-development that does come out of these conversations. And you guys are there for that too. So it's good for you guys, hopefully. And it's good for us. Ari, though, we got to know, man. How did it go with that girl in Italy? Switch like hard
Yeah.
transition to close us out here. How'd it go?
Oh man. We spent the day together on the beach. It was a really great afternoon, and I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was staying in the south of the Amalfi Coast, and she was staying all the way up in the north end. And so I had asked what she was doing the following day, and she gave me the list of these two beaches, and I was like, well, great, I'm going to go to Capri if you want to go to Capri with me. And she was like, yeah, actually I will. And so I was like, great, we'll do that. And it was kind of like this really, I don't want to say like, it wasn't an awkward goodbye. I could tell she didn't want to leave, but also she didn't want to be like, I'm going to stay with you longer. So she was, whoever knows the beginning of the story, I'm not going to re-explain everything, but if you know, you know. So when I found her taking the pictures on the beach, the background, and I asked her to take the picture, I asked if I could take the picture for her. She said yes. When I was about to leave, because I was going to leave it at that, right? I took the picture, I did the deal, that's it. And then as we were talking, and I found out she's a creator and all that stuff, And this is after like now 30 minutes of conversation. I was like, all right, and again, it was like almost like this awkward closing. And she goes, well, I really wish I had someone though to take a picture of me in the water. And I was like, oh, like I could do that. I could. And she was like, no, you don't have to. And I was like, no worries. Like I could do it. So I ended up staying. That's how I stayed longer. I jumped in the water with her, took the pictures of her in the water and of the coast, the scene, the backdrop. We get out of the water and she goes, well, I'm going to go explore the other beach, like right there. And I'm like soaked. I know I have an hour and a half drive back on two wheels. And I'm like, and it also was kind of gray outside in the skies. So I was just like, okay, I really know I should get back. And I know she kind of wants me to go to the other beach with her. But I was like, I can't, I skipped that. I gave her the hug. And I said, let's do Capri tomorrow. And she agreed. Got on my way. It was really nice spending the afternoon with her. Got back to the hotel. It started raining, by the way. I was like 30 minutes away from my hotel.
Ooh. Okay.
So that was kind of crazy. Got really, really windy on the side of the cliff. And I was driving back. And if anyone's been Amalfi Coast, like, those are really small roads, windy roads. People drive like 2 miles per hour on them. I'm trying to get back as fast as possible because I know the storm's coming in. Long story, even shorter. It just got worse and worse. The weather got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Woke up in the morning to an alert on my phone that said there's extreme winds in effect until 2 p.m. the next day. And I was like, crap. I'm looking out. So I wake up for sunrise, and there's usually like boats out in the Bay Area. There's no boats out there. And I can see from my terrace, the hotel terrace, that where the port was for me to catch the ferry to Capri. And I don't see like any movement at all. There's no one out there. There's no one walking around. There's no boats in the bay. Like there's nothing. And with the extreme wind advisory, which, by the way, in Italy, it was like they were calling extreme winds 14 miles per hour. And I know in the U.S. that would be like laughed at, but I guess the ferries are much smaller or whatever in Italy.
I pass gas at higher MPHs than that.
So I'm like 14 miles per hour. And like they're like, lock the doors, like. But I'm looking out and I call the hotel manager and I'm like, hey, are there any ferries? Like, is anything? And they're like, no, everything's closed down for the day. So this girl ends up messaging me on the north end of Amalfi Coast. Like the coast was almost clear and it was much closer to Capri. This girl goes to Capri. I'm still waiting for the ferries. Nothing. So I didn't get to see her again, but she has been sending me messages. Very nice girl. Probably nothing will come about from it, but I will also share. I've been posting a lot of content lately on Instagram. I've been out and about, and I just got a funny message, the other day from this girl who was like, "Are you looking for a wife?" And
from the same girl?
Not the same girl,
Okay.
But
different girl.
Different girl, man. I'm pumping, the content out there. She's like, "I'm an investor. Are you looking for a wife?" So look, this might be what's in, I'm just going to keep at it. I'm going to keep posting and keep living my rich life. I am looking for a wife, but probably not that one. And we're just going to keep living, keep enjoying.
LIVIN.
That's it, man. That's it.
Dang, man. No, that's a bummer. It's a bummer.
Nah, it's all good. Yeah, it's all good. She was a sweetheart. I will say that. Her name was Dahlia. Sweetheart. Very, very nice. And yeah, man, I'm just happy I met her. It's like it's cool, and you just meet people who are awesome. And she's just an awesome person. And again, at the Blossom Conference, I met fellow creators who were there, fellow panelists. So again, I kind of just want to even wrap up with kind of how we started and say, LA is the last stop for the Blossom Tour 2026. If you are in or around the area, and I mean like one state or two states away, and you have the 15th of October at least remotely free, get your ASS on a plane, buy the ticket, come meet me in LA. Like, catch some energy, do what you have to do. There are no excuses. Play like a billionaire, level up. Let's be in this thing together. I don't know what else is like, man. It's just like it. Play like a billionaire. That's it. That's what I got.
If you guys don't go, as you can hear in that sigh, Ari is going to be very, very sad,
Just
very disappointed,
disappointed.
very
Like,
disappointed.
let's pack a freaking rooftop in LA and have a hell of a time.
I have an out though, right?
Ryan has an out. You got some Harry Potter business to get to, but everybody else.
Apparently so, man. Apparently so. Man, what the heck even is this podcast? We were everywhere tonight. It was fun though. This was a fun conversation. I'm glad we made the impromptu decision. Actually, I'm glad that you suggested that we do an impromptu live stream. This was a lot of fun. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. This is actually a rather long episode for us, an hour, 21 minutes. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. We covered a lot of great ground. Go ahead.
I just got to say, I think this would be epic for everybody out there. There's one comment that just came in the chat. San Diego is still in the plans. Michael, if you are in the San Diego area, I highly recommend to reach out to me on Instagram, most likely. But I do want to say this. Ryan and I, YouTube, Instagram. Ryan, I don't think you're a TikToker, are you?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok.
You're on TikTok. Ryan's on TikTok. I'm not a TikTok guy. But I want to say this. Follow us everywhere. Follow us on Blossom. Follow us on Ryan on TikTok, us on Instagram, YouTube. Be with us. Build with us. Because we're in the midst of trying to just grow the heck out of what we're doing here. It all starts on all branches for us to reach out to new investors, to speak to new investors, to bring them all here to the watering hole of the deep end. And more than that, connect with us. So a lot of my DMs come in from Blossom or Instagram. Yeah. And I respond. Usually if it's on Blossom, only with obviously the texting or the chats, I would highly recommend connecting with me on Instagram, and you get the same fire that you hear right now over a voice note on Instagram. So connect. I will make my way down to San Diego. My plan is to go to Maui tomorrow morning, have a hell of a time, come back, hit that Blossom Tour 100,000 times harder with more energy than I did in New York and Chicago, end this thing the right way, make my way down to San Diego. I almost tried to jump out of a hot air balloon today. I think I'm going to do skydiving.
We're an hour and 23 minutes, and you've been sitting on that this entire time. Jeez, man.
Yeah, it's in the works.
Just a minor detail, by the way.
It's in the works. We're doing crazy things. If anyone is in the area in California, like really you want to meet up and do some crazy things with me, even that's having a one-on-one crazy conversation, let's make things happen. We're in this thing together. And I believe if we connect, we can make that happen. So follow us. Certainly shoot me a message on Instagram. Like I said, same fire you're hearing now, but we can make some plans. And that's it. That's all I got on my end.
Yeah, same here. Guys, thank you all so much for hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun, and we will see you in the next one. You guys all take care.